Hey guys, Steven here, Fanatic Perspective. I have some special friends, some special guests on the channel today. My good buddy Vashon, my good buddy Chris. What's up, fellas? How we doing?
What's
What's
up?
going on, brother? What's happening? Good. Hey, very, very, very happy. And it's a great pleasure, brother.
Man, I'm so happy
Oh
to
man,
have you guys on. Chris, what's up, man?
what it do, man? I'm so happy to be here with you, bro. We've been talking about this. It's just talking ball, man. I love it. This is
Now
awesome.
we're definitely going to talk some ball today. And for those, that don't know you guys, and I know we're part of a community out here, and that's where I want to give you guys a proper introduction as part of the Unfiltered Longhorn Talk Facebook group, a community of almost 10,000 members, diehard Texas fans. I've been a part of the community for the last few years. Yeah, met both of you brothers in there. Chris, Chris, we hang out in person now and the whole bit. And so just the voices and the moderators, and both of you are moderators in that community. I do want to give you guys the opportunity to speak to that platform and how, kind of our genesis as Longhorn fandom and how we got there. But it's also just a good opportunity for you guys to have this platform, this space, because you guys do influence a lot of discussion and amongst fans. And this is Fanatic Perspective. And when I find like-minded people like myself, like passionate people like myself, I want to talk ball with y'all. And that's exactly what we're going to do today. Before I get to that, I want to give a quick shout out to our sponsors, our friends, Last Stand Hats, laststandhats.com/fanatic. Go hit us up, laststandhats.com/fanatic. Use the promo code Fanatic10, get 10% off at checkout. Y'all, we have the spring game coming up, April 15th.
Oh yeah.
If you're looking for
Yes,
some
sir.
gear, some merch, some hats, there's no better place in the business to go and get that at laststandhats.com/fanatic. You get right before we all get to Austin for our little family reunion and enjoy seeing this team on their final practice, their final spring scrimmage, April 15th. So hit up Last Stand Hats. Also have a quick another announcement midway through the video. We will be introducing a new sponsor, part of the Fanatic Perspective community. Really excited about that as well. Chris, I'm going to start with you, my brother. Your journey as a Texas fan, because one thing I've always deferred to you and Vashon for a perspective of Texas fans, because there's generations of fans that watch this channel. Some of you guys weren't old enough to see the last national championship. Some of you guys weren't around for Colt McCoy and all of those things. I came around at the basically Ricky's last season is where I'm like, okay, I'm a Texas fan, right? And so interacting with you guys, I've always deferred to y'all for proper context. And so, Chris, I'm a kind of pitch to you, and then we'll go to Vashon.
All right. Well, my journey becoming a Longhorn fan started in like second grade. One of my good friends, Jeremy, he got bused to my school. They took second grade out of his elementary, kind of like a desegregation, and then they took third grade out of mine. So it kept us going back and forth. He's my first Caucasian friend that I've had in my life. His family was a family of Longhorn fans. His uncle had flunked out of Texas when we were in second grade, and was the biggest Texas fan. Partied a little bit too hard, but was just the biggest Texas fan. And I just my best friend was Jeremy, and I don't know, I just always kept up with Texas after that. I mean, I've been a fan, you know, through the 80s, 90s. Probably my earliest memory was probably a little before Shock the Nation. But I remember, probably about 88, 89, Eric Metcalf on. Um, endured the David McWilliams years. Remember a little bit of Fred Akers, but David McWilliams, John Malkovich, Matt, and on to Charlie, and Tom, and now it's Son. It's been a journey, and I wouldn't trade it for the world, man. I love being a Texas fan. Like, I was telling Vashawn, earlier on, I was like, man, when I was like a couple years ago, I could tell you like the seventh man on the New Jersey Nets. I could tell you the third pitcher, who is the closer for any team in the Major League Baseball. Over this last 10 years of Texas football, probably 10, 12 years during that struggle, I think I've just pretty much stopped watching everything but Texas. It's been a year-round thing for me. Like, don't ask me who the seventh man for the Washington Wizards is right now. I couldn't tell you. But I mean, I could tell you, if you want to talk about any, Texas position battle, I mean, let's do it. I mean, any college football battle, I mean, let's do it. I mean, it's college football is where it's at for me. It's just literally, I like the Cowboys, but like if the Cowboys lose, okay, I'm upset for about 30 seconds. Texas loses, I might need to get off social media for a little bit. Just that's the way it is, man. So it's where my passion.
Hey, Chris, imagine having to do shows after losing games and
Oh,
talk to you
I don't know how
guys.
you do it, brother.
oh
I don't know how
yeah.
you do it.
Trying to find the voice. Vashawn, what you got, brother? I want to give you the opportunity to speak on that as well.
Well, brother, so I've been a Longhorn fan probably a little over 30 some years, man. Goes way back to 1990. Uh, Longhorn Nation, don't hate me, but I used to love Notre Dame. And I know Chris don't like Notre Dame, but I played running back in high school. Was pretty good at it, man. And boy, I wanted to play running back for Lou Holtz. Dang. I said, man, I'm going to Notre Dame. I'm gonna get that scholarship, man, and I'm gonna go play for Notre Dame. And well, during that time, I love college football. I love football, period. I love all sports. I'm watching TV one day and I see this running back, number 40 for the Texas Longhorns. I don't know who they was playing, but man, he was running over folks. So I'm looking like, man, who is this for Texas balling like that? Oh, Butch Hadnot. I know y'all remember Butch Hadnot. I think was it 1991, Chris?
Yeah,
But
yeah, it's 1990.
yeah. So man, I'm looking
Nation.
at the way
Yeah.
he run, and then he was from right up the way. I'm from Beaumont, Texas, Southeast Texas. He's from Kirbyville. So I was like, okay, let me start watching. And I started watching Peter Gardere and all of them guys, man. And man, I just became a fan, man. And just like Simp say, to shock the nation. I was there for that, and then one of my childhood buddies, we played on the same high school team. We went to different middle schools. James Brown, we come up together
Godfather.
playing football at Westbrook. You know, when he went to Texas, oh man, it was it. That was it, brother. Beaumont has a long history of sending guys to Texas, and even the tight end number 86 that he threw to beat Nebraska was a Westbrook alum. So man, it's just from there on, brother. I've been watching, and it's strictly been Texas. Then I just say, you know what? I love Texas, and I'm gonna keep watching them. And like Simp said, man, I take it personal when Texas lose. When somebody else playing, or my pro team or something like that. Oh yeah, they lost. Okay, but when Texas lose, brother, I take it personal. But man, it's I tell anybody, man, to be a Texas fan, boy, you gotta have some tough skin, man, because we've been through some good times, and lately we've been through some rocky times. But hopefully, it's going back in the right direction.
And that's where we want to get to in this discussion is this present day roster and team. Under Steve Sarkisian, this week as we record right now, they are returning back from spring break, and they will, these like next few weeks, this active team will get into hopefully round out into shape their last few practices and obviously concluding with the spring game as we mentioned before. But I kind of said it earlier with the context of different iterations of people within our fan base that have seen different things. And so I feel like that kind of sculpts what our expectations should be in a lot of ways. Like I know for me, that's early Mac Brown days, right? So I'm not there for any of the Makovic stuff. I don't have context as to, even Priest Holmes and James Brown, like I know about them now, but at the time, it's like, oh, we go right from Ricky to the Chris Sims recruitment to Corey Redding and all those guys coming in here to BJ Johnson and Sloan Thomas and Roy Williams, and we have all this talent, and we're one of the best teams in the country every single year that I'm in middle school, high school, and my young adulthood. Like that was the standard. And so my view is going to be very different from, like my buddy Kieran, who you guys see all the time and is in the community. Kieran being 10 years younger than me is going to have a completely different view and perspective, just as those of you like Vashawn, you mentioned 1990. So I'm about 9 years behind you, brother. Right? In terms of what you see. Just how in the Facebook group, because in Unfiltered, y'all see all types of Texas fans in there. Yeah. Right? Yeah. People that are alum, people that may have played for the team, family members of teammates. How do we, I don't even know what the question is here, so to speak, but I think it's very interesting kind of diving into that dynamic, because there's a narrative out there of sense of entitlement from Texas fans. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And why should Texas feel like they should have high expectations? Like, why aren't you guys just happy with 8 wins or 10 wins, or like, why is all this hubbubaloo about them going to the SEC? How does that all, and Chris or Vashawn, either one of you can jump in here and run with this, but I think it's just a really interesting dynamic to look at as a whole when we look at our fan base.
Well, I'll take a stab at it. Man, going back to the early 90s, and Sim can tell you, we struggled. I think we had a couple 5 to 7. I mean, people think like a lot of newer Texas fans that was just there when it started liking the team in the MAC days, all they remember is 10-win seasons, 10 wins, 11 wins, going to Big 12, going to Natties. Well, it wasn't always that way. We struggled in the 90s, the early 90s, and then we had to shock the nation in 94, Simp?
Oh, 91?
Yeah, 91. 91, yeah. So, and then, when the Southwest Conference, I mean, I remember Arkansas used to kick our butt, man. Arkansas used to walk the floor with us. I mean, we would get A&M every blue moon, and then they was pretty good, in the RC Slocum. But it wasn't always like Texas was just on top. We had some struggle years even in the 90s, and then we saw the foundation starting to be laid. And when McAvick came, James Brown became the quarterback. We started recruiting more national. I noticed that too. We started going and getting I remember LaVelle Pinckney, all of them from Washington D.C. area, and but if you look at the trend, that 96 team that won the first Big 12. If you go back and look at that, Steve, that offensive line they had put some guys in the pros. I think Dan Neal was on that team on Simp. I mean, it was some guys on that team. It wasn't just, they didn't have no talent. Mackovic actually came in and he recruited some talent, which actually helped Mac. And a lot of people don't understand this. For Mac to start the way he did, Mackovic set him up nice. I mean, he had some nice pieces. I mean, we if you go back to the 90s, in the mid 90s, I mean, we had Brian Westbrook, Quinn Jammer. I mean, I can go down the list, man. And we kept offensive linemen. And at that time, even with Tony Braggins on the defensive line, we kept some nice defensive linemen. So it was talent there. I think Matt did a great job of coming in. I think it was 97, 98. He had Ricky Williams, and he said, you know what? We're going to just run this ball. And Ricky got that Heisman. And from there, Matt was already a heck of a recruiter when he came from North Carolina. And then that's when you saw Texas, Matt started putting number 1 class, number 2 class, number 3 class, stacking them. And I think that's when we saw that run of talent. But I think during that time, I think Texas fans started, even myself, I admit it, we started expecting to go 10 wins every year, every year. And, unfortunately, after '09, when we went to our last national championship we went to, man, it's been, we've been subpar ever since. And at first I say, we'll be back. We'll be back. Because I was like the regular every fan. Oh man, next year we'll be back. We'll be back. It's no way we can't be down this long. But you know, if something was going on behind the 40 acres, I think personally, Steve, that the fall off, more than just talent, because we've been getting talent. I mean, you can go back and look at from '09 all the way up to now. Texas that had top 10 recruiting classes. So it's just more to me as a fan. I started realizing, man, it has to be more than just getting a group of talent together. It has to be something behind that leads to a successful program. Like an Alabama or Georgia, or even, I hate to say this, Oklahoma has had success while we was down. So, I know we hate them, and but they kept it
Yeah.
going and they changed coaches. So,
Yeah, and let me jump in here before I
mhm.
hand it to Chris.
Go
Two
ahead.
things two things that Bashan brought up. A, OU, and you can kind of look at OU from a similar perspective right now of what we predicted. A lot of people predicted their struggles to be last season because of that same expectation that then becomes entitlement. Like
Yeah.
you it's nothing wrong with expecting to win 10 games. There's nothing wrong with expecting to win the conference. There's nothing wrong with expecting, if the ingredients are there. We lost the recipe. Okay. Like
Yeah.
we stopped looking at the work that was done each and every time. Also, the foundational changes and shifts within college football. Whole bunch of things were happening. The conference changes, the landscape of recruiting areas change with the dynamic with high schools and how we acquire talent. There's so many variables that also factor in there that we maybe as fans don't pay as much attention to, that attribute to the lack of success, where it's like, oh, things were always like this before. So we have to factor those things in. But I completely agree with what you said, Bashan, where you even fall into that, like,
Mm-hmm.
but then we start going back and revisiting it, and it's like, ooh, we weren't ever going to win 10 games doing business that way.
Yeah.
Right. So Chris, what's your perspective there, brother?
Okay, here's where I'm at with it. So, and like Rashawn was saying, it hadn't always been great for Texas. I can remember going out through the '80s, and then I guess I take that back. Shock the Nation was '90. That bowl game we got destroyed by him. It was January 1st, '91, just to be correct. But I remember not beating A&M for a long time, and then beating them in 1990 or whatever. Stan Thomas, left tackle, had an infamous quote or whatever in that game. And we probably should have beat them by a lot more, but we took care of them. And I can just, we didn't beat them for a while. I think that first time after that was 1995, December 1st in College Station. And then after that, we dominated them. And then we got RC let go because, you can win whatever you want, but you better beat Texas. And I mean, it's great that that we got over that A&M hump, but and everything that we've had going on, if you look at the coaches from back then, if you look at a Makovic really wasn't liked by the alumni at all. You go from Makovic to Mac, and the alumni love Mac. Mac was very folksy talking, had the same, he was kind of a used car salesman. He was going to do well. He brought a great coaching staff here. I mean, he really did his homework. I mean, and he did what he needed to do. The Mac kind of era wore off for me. I was kind of ready for that to end a lot earlier than it was. I just felt like he just kind of just started looking at star ranking instead of evaluating talent,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't want to take away from Mac. I don't want to Mac doesn't deserve to get drive-bys from us today. So I'm just telling you my perspective on it. I just thought, he kind of gave up on it a little bit. But then you go from Mac, who was liked by the alumni, did a great job, you go from him to Charlie, who, hey, we're not going to have a Charlie Strong debate today. I don't want to get into that, especially with our unfiltered guys. But I'll say this, man, like he wasn't wanted, like by the alumni, by most of the alumni. Yeah, I mean, it was great for a lot of us. We thought we were going to get what he did at Louisville, but I mean, just there wasn't a whole lot behind him. He didn't have as much time as he thought. You know, they bring in Tom. Tom's the favorite son, but the jury was still out on him. The one thing that I do know about our coaching staff now in Sark, I believe 100%. I talked to a lot of alums, a lot of older alums, a lot of younger alums. They really like Sark. And I just think that's success at Texas. If you're going to have success at Texas, obviously you have to be a great X's and O's coach. But if these alumni don't follow you, like you are just, I mean, you don't have a chance. I mean,
Yeah.
Sean, what's that saying? Texas has more money than who? What's that
than
saying?
the Vatican.
Yeah, I mean, literally, if they don't
Yeah.
like you there, I mean, it's not gonna work. And one thing that I was saying, and talk about today's program where we are now, I said something to Vashawn and the guys a couple of weeks ago, and I was just like, man, we have a lot of talent on this roster. If you look at the last 3 years, and we were talking about it, and it was just like, yeah, we're drinking Kool-Aid, whatever. Yeah, it's that time of the year where we're gonna be playing in the Big 12 championship, and we're gonna make the Final Four in football or whatever. And it's just like, we're like, yeah, whatever. But then we start looking at our roster, and then all of a sudden, some of con- the content created YouTube guys, start looking at our roster. If you look at our roster, if you look at the 21, 22, and 23, those three straight classes that Sark's brought in, there's so much talent. Like I'm sorry,
Yeah.
like the excuses are over now. Um, I mean, it's nothing against the other Big 12 schools. I mean, I think there's a lot of talent, but I mean, this is just like, and I talked about this with you guys the other day, and it's just like I remember Texas Tech got Rick Flair to go talk to them about before they played Texas. And I know that narrative, to be the man, you got to beat the man. Well, here's the thing: what I want the Texas kids to do, and this is what Rod Babers talked about, and I just want to just like this is big to me. Do you want to play at Texas, or do you want to play for Texas? You know, and I think Steve Sarkisian should have Rick Flair come talk to our team because that's who they need to be talking to. That's who the Longhorn needs to be because everybody hated the Four Horsemen. Everybody hates the Longhorns. All right. And I think what our players need to be taught and told, hey, man, like people are going to come in and want to knock you off no matter what. Like people are on
Oh
national
yeah.
TV, they're not playing you, they're doing horns down. Like literally, I mean, like you're living in their house and in their mind rent free. So, I mean, I'm not saying I want us to start cheating like the Four Horsemen did, but win by all means necessary, whatever it takes. That's that narrative. But I mean, I'm just saying, why is Rick Flair going to go talk to Bowling Green before they play somebody? Why are you going to go talk to Tech? You should be talking to the people, to the kids that don't realize how good you got and how much everybody wants to knock you off. That's who
Chris,
Rick Flair needs to
Chris,
be talking to.
Chris, that's because
Sure.
we have Mark Henry and the Undertaker and Matthew McConaughey talking to the team.
Oh,
Like
come on, man.
but hey, there's no slander here. There's no
Oh, no,
slander
no,
here
none,
on my
none, none,
channel. I don't
no.
want anybody to come for me.
Oh, me
But
neither.
Chris, I
No,
have a
I don't think
question for
Mark
you. I
Henry
have a
or any
question
of
for
those
you.
guys. Okay.
You said looking at the last 3 years, 21, 22, this 23 class that, and many of them, this is the best probably early enrollee group we've had, probably the strongest group collectively, numbers and talent. Why are you saying that the talent has improved, or you feel differently about these classes? Because I joined the Unfiltered group during the Tom Herman days, and I remember us talking about the talent then. Like, we feel like we have a lot of talent. Tom Herman had top 3 class, top 10 class. Like, we felt like I heard talent then. Why is the talent now different?
The talent now is different because you're getting it on the line of scrimmage. For years, we weren't able to get any offensive linemen, and I mean, it's I mean, when you get a guy at your school, I mean, you obviously, I think the goal is to get a degree. Number one, get all conference. If you can, be the best person possible person you can be every day. Obviously, be a better man. Than when you got here at 18. But I mean, playing in the NFL, I think kids were seeing that, kids come to Texas, you don't get developed. Sam Cosmi, gets drafted in the second or third round by the Redskins or the
Yeah,
Commanders
second
now.
round. Mhm.
Yeah. And it's just like, and they look at him, they're just like, this kid has no technique whatsoever. You know what I'm saying? And it's just like, I like what Sark has done with these last three classes. I like the offensive lineman. I love the offensive lineman. And you could say, well, you're in the NIL world. You're just paying money. Well, I have a feeling that you could have given Tom Herman, Herb Hand. Like I said, I'm not trying to give anybody the, drive-by shots on their couch while they're, by us. But I'm just telling you,
Speak the
like you
truth.
could have given those guys the same thing we have now. We don't have Banks. We don't have Neto. We don't have Campbell. We don't have Hudson. If we give those guys to Herman and Herb Hand, these kids know that, you know, Stark, and Flood have put guys in the NFL. I mean, and it's possible. Like there's so much talent. I mean, you look at the 2021 class, that's supposed to be a transition class for you. Okay. Out of the 21, your coach gets fired, you bring in another guy, you know, you probably have two or three guys that end up playing. Oh no, right now, I mean, I got a list right here, actually. I mean, 2021 class, I may be missing some guys, but you got your Tavian Sanders, you got, Worthy, you got Blackwell, you got Hayden Connor starting, you got Jonathan Brooks probably going to be RB1 next year. You got Darren Sorrells, who has a great chance of, solidifying that in position and lead you in sacks. You got Gunnar Helm, you got guys, this is 21. You got Casey Kane. You got guys that are actually playing. I mean, you look at 22, you look at the offensive linemen, we have, I mean, Campbell, Banks, Nato, Ogbo, I mean, Cole Hudson. I mean, that dude came in and played.
Damn.
I mean, we have guys that haven't even, I mean, Cam Williams hadn't even gotten on the field the way he needs to get on the field yet. Then you look at 23, and here's the thing: whenever I was looking at the combine, and you look at Alabama, and you put basically the Georgia players. I was gonna say SEC, but it's just basically the Georgia players, man. And it just looked like some of these guys that we have on this roster look like some guys that could be at a combine next year. Tavondre Sweat's gonna look great at a combine.
Yeah.
I mean, Cam Williams is going to look great in a combine in a couple of years. Kelvin Banks is going to look great in a combine. Anthony Hill is going to look great in a combine. A guy like Darian Gillette, if he can get that knee right, man, if you're 6'3", 230, and you're anchoring your 4x100, I don't care if you're at a 238. I don't care where you at, man. You're an athlete. That's the kind of guy that if we can get the strength and conditioning, get that guy strong, get that guy right, like Georgia does, like Alabama does, like I mean, name it. I mean, it's just
Even
like we
LSU.
haven't in the last several years. Even LSU, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, and I think we saw that with the players that we had this year. I think, man, DeAndre Coburn wasn't going to get drafted if he wouldn't have came back. Look at Moro Ojimo. I mean, literally. I mean, those guys
They're
are going
both
to
going to get drafted.
Yes.
Yeah, they're both
Yes.
are. Yeah, I agree. Well, I'll say this, man. The difference with Sark, what I'm seeing from Sark to Herman to Charlie, even to Mac. Now, people don't realize it took Mac 7 years, 7 years to win the Big 12 championship.
Yep.
Those days are different with the transfer portal. Mac was able to stack class after class after class after class to eventually the talent override. It don't matter. I'm not going to say because coaching matters, and I'm a big proponent of coaching. But you can cover up deficiencies in your coaching when you got so much talent out there. But one thing Mac left less desired, and it goes back to the drought of offensive line. What Seth was just talking about. The drought. The NFL spoke the loudest. They spoke the loudest for us. When we didn't have an offensive lineman drafted, what was the last guy said? Was it 07?
Yeah, it was Tony Hills.
Tony Hill. Tony Hill.
And that guy was from like he was at Texas for like 6-7 years, so he was from like a 01, 02.
Yeah.
I think it was like 08 for Hills. I think Blaylock got drafted in 07 too.
Yeah.
But
so
before Connor Williams.
From 07 We have an offensive lineman drafted. I think it goes all the way to Connor Williams. Man, that's ridiculous. That tells you the NFL to me spoke the loudest. We were not getting players in the trenches on the offensive line. I don't know if we wasn't developing or we just getting the wrong guys. I don't know, but I think it's a little bit of both. But to me, the secret sauce to winning, to building championships, whatever you want to call it, is for one, you got to build that offensive line. If you look how Oklahoma and all of them other teams did it, you want to build your offensive line where you can plug and play running backs. You know what I'm saying? You when you got a great offensive line, you can put. I mean, you don't have to have a 5-star. You don't have to have a Bijan back there every year because you're not going to get them type of running backs every year. You're going to miss on some guys. But when you got an offensive line opening up holes, man, you can put a pretty good to average running back there, and your team will be successful. My second thing, and you go and look at the SEC model, what Seth just said, is strength and conditioning. You got to get the strength and conditioning coach down right if you want to be successful. If you don't, man, you're going to be playing behind. You're going to be getting pushed around. And then the third thing, of course, I think Sark got going on is quarterback. If you got those three things, offensive line, strength and conditioning, and you got a quarterback, a good quarterback, you can, you know what I'm saying, you can cover up some deficiencies in your coaching, in your scheme, or whatever case it may be. So I think that's where Sark has got us. I'm still, the jury's still out on the strength and conditioning, but as far as the offensive line, man, and our quarterback room is stacked. Bro, I haven't seen it stacked like this in a long time. Since way back when Cole, Vince, and whoever else was back there. I mean, this is a stacked quarterback room. And if somebody goes down, we feel comfortable. Now we haven't seen Arch play yet, but we're hearing about Malik, but as far as just talent wise, man, it's been a long time since we had this type of talent there.
And I want to get to a couple things. And before we do that, I do want to announce real quick. So quick intermission. Shout out to our brand new sponsor, Aura. Aura is a digital services protection company, threat protection, VPN services. We are offering a special 14-day free trial for anyone that wants to sign up. I will have the details for that here, but shout out to Aura, brand new sponsor of Fanatic Perspective. So with the quarterback aspect, and I want to kind of get to the whole Quinn Ewers, Arch Manning, Malik Murphy, the whole bit there. But just addressing some of the things that you guys have said already in terms of the strength and conditioning aspects and the offensive line aspects. One of the biggest elements that OU has had, where they've had so much success in the Big 12 in terms of winning the conference, and I know we're both going to the SEC, but in terms of just looking back of where we went wrong and what they were able to do successfully, offensive line, quarterback play, right? Those are things that they've had consistently regardless. And for the most part, they've really been in a more, up-tempo, balanced offense. They've always been able to run the football well. They've always been able to throw it well. As we look to where Steve Sarkisian is trying to get to, it's not just ground and pound and having the biggest, baddest offensive line, right? It's also with that offensive line from a pass protection standpoint, hint Kelvin Banks.
Yes.
Where can we look more explosive as a football team? And that's on both sides of the ball, right? Chris talked about Darian Gillette and the explosiveness. Vashawn, you mentioned Anthony Hill, the explosiveness. These are people who we need them to look like our Nolan Smith. These are people we need them to look like a Harold Perkins last year, where we have unblockable pieces and chess pieces to match up against what we will see this year in the Big 12 and what we're going to see down the road in the SEC with the improvement of the athlete, the improvement of offensive scheme. Football's played in space now. And so when we look at how we've recruited, do we have football players? You know, the development of the quarterback is one thing, but do we have football players that can play in space and be dynamic weapons and scare the hell out of the opponent, right? Whether it's an Xavier Worthy, a Jonte Cook, a DeAndre Moore, you know, Isaiah Nayor coming back, even a Jatavian Sanders. How many explosive guys because those are the things that will also translate to the NFL and turn this place back into the factory that it needs to be. So I'm really happy to hit on the emphasis on strength and conditioning, because we will see the difference in those combines. And that is a byproduct of what will come from winning football games and looking like badasses on the field. That's the whole point of all of this. From a quarterback standpoint, let's get to the current roster and we can wrap up. As we break down this team, and we're talking about these pieces and we're throwing around names, I personally think it is imperative for the staff. I think it is a mutually beneficial thing. For the staff, they don't want to have year 3 and a third different, starting quarterback 3 years in a row. I think you need to build on what you started with Quinn Ewers. He is too talented. He has too much ability, and he showed too much last year not to be able to capitalize off the experience and the growing pains of the reps that he endured last season. And that's where development has to come into, because he is gifted enough to take advantage of all of these pieces we just mentioned, in my opinion. But we've got to get him there. I love Arch. And how can you not love a Manning and what that brings to your program? How can you not love what Malik Murphy intangibly can bring? But Malik's not healthy. That's just the situation. We can't do anything with that. And Arch is a true freshman. I can't do much with it's got to be Quinn, right?
It's got to be. But here's the thing that impresses me about Arch. Obviously, he's a Manning, so he's gonna have the pedigree. He's probably been taking drops since he was like 2 years old. Since he's been walking. But man, I think the thing that I like about Arch being here so early and the way it is that I think for the first time in his life, I think Quinn Ewers is actually being pushed. I think there's pressure. I think he knows every day, and there's a chance that, even though I know if I were to put money on anything, like he's gonna start game 1. He's gonna be the starting quarterback. There's no quarterback controversy. They want to sit Arch. But man, I just feel like this is the first time though that ever in his life that he's ever just known that there's a chance. There's somebody backing him up that potentially could be better than he is. And man, when you've never had been pushed like that, you learn a lot about yourself. And it's just the little things with me with Quinn. It's the haircut. I didn't care about the mullet, man. With NIL, man, make your money, do whatever, mark your brand, do whatever you want to do. But when you show your guys, this is how serious I am. He lost the weight. He lost the 10, 12 pounds. The baby fat's gone. He actually looks like a drop back passer. Like he actually looks like a quarterback, a phenom quarterback. That's big. That's very big. That's leadership right there. I didn't expect that from him at all. So I'm interested definitely to see. I think Sark's offense. I think it's going to help him a second year in this system. Like, I just think it'd be hard for anybody to pick up Sark's offense like this, especially if you're a guy like Quinn Ewers, who missed a year of football because of, graduating a year early, and then you missed several games in high school because of injury. People don't realize how few games Quinn Ewers has played leading up to this point. Some of these quarterbacks have played 35, 40 games. What was Kyler Murray's record in high school at Allen?
It's like 33-0.
Yeah. We got a guy that's Quinn's probably played maybe 18, 20 games in his high school career. I'm not making excuses for him, but I think he realizes that the time is now. It's gonna, and I'm not a guy that's gonna say, hey, let's rush him out of here real quick, because here's a narrative where Texas fans really, really mess up. And we do this all the time with quarterbacks. We want to see throw a freshman out there. We want to see him. We want to see him. When he doesn't do what we want him to do, all of a sudden he's the worst thing in the world. And I don't want that. I also don't want that narrative to where we're just like saying, okay, win for 2 years now, and then you go pro, and then Arch is the guy. Let's give those necessary steps that it takes to become the player you need to be. Like I don't care what you know. I mean, we all thought Garrett Gilbert was going to be amazing. I mean, literally, like after that Alabama game, I know he struggled in the first half, and I thought we had our quarterback. Oh, absolutely not.
Me
Absolutely
too,
not.
brother.
You can't
Me
skip
too.
steps. You can't skip steps. So if he has a great year, if he gets his 3,500 yards, 3,800 yards, his, 38, 40 touchdowns, and it's not just numbers, it's just leadership. It's just how the team is. If he can get this team, when, receivers start pouting or if an offensive lineman, misses a block or something, just him saying something, him just give him a pat on the back, like, hey, come on, let's do this. I mean, if we see the body language. I mean, it's going to be more than the numbers. It's going to be more than the numbers. I just don't want to see Texas fans try to just, oh, he's only 2 years and then it's going to be Arch. I mean, you do that. I mean, we don't want to mess up a guy's development. I mean, just because you want to see Arch Manning. I mean, I want to see
Absolutely not.
Arch and Quinn push each other as hard as they can. I want to see those guys make each other so much better, along with Malik, too. We need to see Malik. I mean, but what Texas fans need to realize, and I want to say this, I know I'm taking up too much time on this, but I've been thinking about this for a while. I'm seeing a lot of narrative because Malik Murphy's ankle and Arch is coming on. Everyone's like, oh, Malik's going to transfer. Malik's going to do this. Malik's going to go to UNLV. Malik's going to do this. I mean, I'm just kind of like, it doesn't like that dude was starting on JV like 2 years ago. If you look at the year he had, he literally, and then he played 2 football seasons in 1 year because of COVID. So, I mean, to think that this kid should be in here with Quinn and Arch right now, it may take that guy 3-4 years to get on the field. And if that's the case, if that's a problem we have, I'm happy with that. I got a 4-star, borderline 5-star developing, I mean, not every quarterback that played in the NFL, started like all 4 years. I think Brad Johnson maybe had to sit behind 2 guys before he started. That guy won a Super Bowl. He's been a couple of Pro Bowls. It's not, it's just like let's not rush these guys. Let's literally take our time and develop them. I mean, if we're not patient with him, he's going to be playing quarterback somewhere else, and we're going to be like, oh, look at that guy. I mean, wouldn't it have been nice to have Cam Rising last year?
Yep. And Chris, well said, man. And there's a lot of points you hit on. And hopefully those of you guys in the comments, make sure you hit the like button, make sure you're subscribing. And if you're on Facebook, check out the Unfiltered Longhorn Talk group that Bashan, Chris moderate, as well as others that, just been staples in the community. But regards to this quarterback conversation, before I get to Bashan and his thoughts, I really resonates with me in terms of this not skipping steps and what that journey looks like. And just to paint some context here, pick a school in college football and tell me where it normally just goes neatly like that in their quarterback situation. Hardly ever. I mean, we look at some of the people that have won national championships recently. Their quarterback room started out messy. Somebody comes on that you would never think of, i.e. the last 2 with Georgia, okay? Nobody's plan was for Stetson to be the guy until he was.
Exactly.
That was nobody's plan. So we have to also look at things from a standpoint of, you're right, as Texas fans, we're yearning because we saw what it looked like with Vince and Colt and guys that developed into what we thought, but we also even forget the steps that happened then and how we got there with them. We were out here trying to get Ryan Paralleau. We got Jevin Sneed, right?
Yeah.
Every moment before Colt McCoy becomes Colt McCoy, we were trying to replace Colt McCoy. Think about it. Until he becomes Colt McCoy, right? And now history looks at it like he was always him. But that wasn't the case. And that happens all over. I've seen right now one common one real quick, and Bashan, I'm gonna get to you. Oh, if Urban Meyer and Ohio State had kept Joe Burrow, they should have kept Joe Burrow over Dwayne Haskins. We cannot recreate history. That's not what happened at that time at Ohio State. I know it's a different team, but the same type of context, right? JT Barrett was the starter. Dwayne Haskins was the backup. Joe Burrow was injured. Dwayne
Yeah.
Haskins comes in and beats Michigan the year before he becomes the guy. You don't think he had a leg up on the quarterback competition at that time? His first year at starter for Ohio State, he goes and he finishes third in the Heisman, throws a Big Ten record for touchdown passes. Joe Burrow transfers to LSU and threw 13 touchdowns that year. Joe Burrow didn't even become Joe Burrow until year 2.
That's
when
true.
we saw him.
Very true. Yep.
Right?
Haskins was
That's
the first.
3 years.
Yeah.
By that time, Haskins had already gone to the league, and Haskins was younger. May he rest in peace. So we can't do this revisionist history of, well, they should have just blah, 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 blah. Like, that's what we end up doing. Who knows what Hudson Card's going to go do at Purdue, by the way? I don't know what he's going to do. Right? We see what Cam Rising's doing at Utah. We got to allow these things to play out the way that they're supposed to play out. But Sean, floor is yours, my friend.
So both of y'all, man, y'all touched on some things, and I want to talk about what's key in quarterback rooms, period. The issue with Garrett Gilbert. It's been reported, Matt, to get Garrett Gilbert to come to Texas, he was the way I heard it was he wasn't going to take a quarterback the year after Garrett Gilbert. Now, I don't know if that's true or not. I'm just going by the rumors out there. That will get that will hurt a program. For one, if that quarterback doesn't end up being the guy who you think he is, you have nobody behind him. So it's very key to stack quarterback rooms. Because just like you just said, Steve, nobody knew Stetson Bennett was going to be the quarterback at Georgia. Nobody knew what Ohio State had. I mean, Ohio State is stacked. I mean, look at the stuff that, I mean, they've been so stacked, they just letting 2-3 quarterbacks go every year. And they still got great quarterback play. So it's important, especially in today's game, when you got the transfer portal, you better stack a quarterback room. So, because like I said, you don't know. I mean, Quinn had some up and down games. Let's be real about it. Quinn had some up and down games last year. But one thing I want to touch on with what Shemp says, the second year in Sark's system. Steve, I think we got an example of that, what a second year in Sark's system would do. And that's who you just mentioned, Hudson Card. Let me ask you this, Steve. Did Hudson Card look different from year 1 to year 2 in Sark's system?
Yes, with less reps. With
less reps. To the point, in Longhorn Nation, y'all know this. Everybody started, no, we don't want Hudson Card after year 1. So we were screaming for Hudson Card last year. Let's be real. Hey, man, let's give Hudson another chance, Hudson looked totally different. He looked comfortable in the offense. He was going through his progressions. He was getting to his second and third reads. He knew when to run, all of that. And that's because I believe it was year 2 in Sark's system. And we do know Sark runs a complex offense. It's not one of them, spread type offense where you just come in and, hey, man, boom, 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 quick one read type systems. It's a very pro style type offense. And it's one of the reasons the Mannings wanted their nephew and son to go play for Sark so he could be professionally ready. So I'll just say this, man. I think Quinn, by being in the system year 2, understanding, and what Sim talked about, having somebody behind him, pushing him, because iron sharpens iron. We know that, guys. One of the Manning's X-Men abilities, as Rob Davis would say, is their film study, is their work ethic. Quinn seeing that, watch his art. I mean, you got this guy right behind you in the quarterback room with you. You can't tell me he's sitting up there watching this guy like, man, look at how he worked. That's not going to rub off on Quinn. And I believe it's going to help Quinn. Quinn got all the ability. He just needed to that little push. And we're not going to throw Malik away either. I don't believe Malik's going anywhere. Once he gets healthy, I think he's gonna, you know what I'm saying, he's gonna get back in the mix too. And because Sark has a very great eye at identifying quarterback talent. And man, Malik got a cannon of an arm. He just gotta, stay in the book, get the playbook down. And I believe Archie helped all of them. Because like I say, it's the cerebral part that makes the Mannings, why they've been so successful. And not just counting Archie's physical ability. I mean, the dude he has Eli's arm and he has Archie Manning's legs. This
Yeah,
guy,
he's athletic. He's more athletic he thinks.
yeah, yeah, he's an athletic Manning. So, man,
Yeah.
as long as we keep stacking quarterback rooms, I think we'll be fine, Steve. Because, like you just said, we don't know what's going to happen. Anything can happen, man. We can go out there. I ain't gonna say that because I don't want to jinx us, but anything can happen with the quarterbacks.
Well, hold
And,
on. Hold
yeah.
on. Hold on. Hold
Okay.
on. The
All right.
last two seasons the last two seasons under Sark, we have been in a situation where we've had both quarterbacks injured at the same time. The last two seasons, we literally were going into the West Virginia game last year, talking about playing Roshan, and we ended up playing Roshan. What do we? Those are things. That's like where Malik Murphy. Hey, we're gonna need you to play. Hudson Card sprained his ankle. Who was it we were getting ready to play last year? Was it UTEP? Was it?
Yeah.
Was it
UTEP?
UTEP? Where we almost
UTEP.
had to start Chuck Wright.
You're right.
We were that close to starting.
He's exactly right.
So you never know. That's all I'm saying. I mean, it's not like a video game where you just pencil somebody in and you simulate the 12 games and, boom, we're in the Big 12 championship.
and you know what though, real quick, you hear fans say stuff like when we'll for instance, we'll pull somebody out the portal. We're looking at another wide receiver or something. They're like, oh, we got 2 or 3 starters. And I try to explain to them, like, you having 2 or 3 starters you want to be 5, 6, 7 deep at positions, because football, you don't know when a guy's going to go down, or you don't know if that guy is going to, what I'm saying, is he going to be the hit? Just because he's a highly ranked recruit don't mean he's going to hit. So once we start getting to that level, like a Georgia or an Alabama, where you're just stacking positions on top of positions, then you can have some misses at a position and you still be fine, or you can have some injuries like you just talked about, and what I'm saying, it'll keep on rolling. And I think, in my opinion, I think we finally starting to get there. This is a talented roster, man. Very talented. I was just looking at the defense. Man, defensive line, can't say enough about them. The only issue I have, and I don't want to take too much sense, but we got to get to the quarterback. To me, getting to that quarterback, putting pressure on the quarterback is key to winning the Big 12, because we face so many running quarterbacks, and quarterbacks get what I'm saying, they scheme players open so well, and they sit back there. If you can't get to that quarterback and put some pressure on them, the one game we got to the quarterback was probably our best defensive game, and that was against TCU. We just didn't do enough offensively to win. But, man, we put pressure on him all game. Sorrell had 3 sacks. And he didn't have enough time to even get it to his receivers because we was coming at him. So that's another thing, man. We got to find a pass rusher. And from what I'm hearing, and I'm going to be done, y'all don't be surprised if we see Hill on that edge.
Oh, wow. You said that again. I want to add on to what you said, Vashon. But like Steve, what you're talking about earlier on, we're talking about athletes and like big time playmakers. One thing me and Vashon I've talked about in the past, and I think I've talked about to you before, but like we're talking about those old 80s and 90s Miami teams. And if you look at the way they played football on defense and just the way the size of the players, they were kind of what we're doing right now. Like, you had linebackers that was kind of almost like see what you hit. You know what I'm saying? I mean, you had a Rohan Marley that was 5'8", 205 pounds. Bob Marley still was playing linebacker in Miami in like 92. Man, you had guys, but I mean, like what Randy Shannon said. We talked about this. It was kind of whole TCU thing. That's why Gary Patterson brought Randy Shannon in, and you see what you hit. These 255-pound linebackers are gone. I think it's another reason why Anthony Hill is getting moved, and they're saying that the guy is a force. I
Mhm.
mean, these 250, 260-pound, the Steve Edmond type guys are gone. I mean, they're just, you have to, I mean, you're running backwards. I think Jelani McDonald's
Mike
going to be
Tomlin
great
used to
for us.
say, you need to look like what you hunt.
Like what you check. There
Yes,
you go.
yes, yeah, that's what it was. Look like
Hey,
what you
hey,
hunt. Yeah,
tell him how we looked up. So just quick, what he talking about, me and him looked up Pro Bowl linebackers.
yes.
Steve, it shocked us. Y'all go check this out, guys. NFL linebackers in the made the Pro Bowl. You would say, oh, well, they got some bruises, 242. No one. No one was over 240 pounds, 230, 220. And then you hear guys, oh, we need big linebackers. Those days are gone. If you looked at the NFL combine, those linebackers that were selected inside linebackers, not outside, those guys was all 225, 230, but they was missiles. They can run. That's what Texas needs in the middle. Go ahead, Sim.
Oh, I agree with you. I mean, I think
Yeah.
we've done it in these last couple of classes at linebacker. I mean, I
Yeah.
think Samaj Burrell, I think Leona LaFau. I mean, I'm excited. I mean, McDonald, Jelani McDonald, that guy. I mean, these guys. I mean, I don't know. Whenever I saw in that national championship game, whenever Alabama and Clemson, whenever Devontae Smith, when Sark put Devontae in orbit motion and saw who he was against, lined up against that linebacker, and they're like, "You're really going to do this?" I mean, these days, those 240, 250-pound linebackers, like we're saying, it's over.
Yeah.
I mean, you literally you want to look like what you hunt.
That's right. That's right.
That ended up getting that. It was Ohio State what you're talking about, but
Oh hell, okay,
that got that defensive coordinator got fired. That's a big reason why
okay.
Jim
Almost
Knowles
from
and
Ohio
guys
State,
like that are
yeah.
there now.
Oklahoma
Yes,
State there,
that's right.
yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
You know, it's like, hey, we can't isolate our middle linebacker and have him carry a guy like the Brian Urlacher days in 2002, where you can play cover two and the linebacker can
Yeah.
carry somebody 30 yards up the field if he can't run, right? And you really got to be able to match up with guys. I mean, look at Bijan going into the NFL. He's going to cause problems in the pass game when he gets
Yeah.
matched up with certain
Yeah.
types of guys. And I hope you can run. I
Yeah.
hope you can keep up. And so, guys, what I'd like to do with y'all, because we can break down so many areas and aspects of Texas football. Let's tie off maybe in a couple weeks, and maybe right before spring game or right after the spring game, and really kind of break down the roster as we see it. Probably better after the spring game, after we
I
all
agree.
watch the spring game. And we just sit down. Now that everybody knows who you are and where you come from, as y'all can all see, these brothers, like I said, are just as passionate, if not more passionate than I am. And between the three of us, we can form a Texas football encyclopedia. So what I would like to do is sit down and let's rap about the whole roster and as we see it, present day, coming off the spring game. I think that'd be really, really cool, and I think people would enjoy that. So, what do y'all say? I'm offering an open invitation while we're
Hey, brother.
recording.
Do it. I'm here.
Hey,
You let me know the time. I'm here.
I love it,
Perfect.
brother. I appreciate it, man. I like that. That's a great idea.
Perfect. Say no more. Well, everybody, thank you to Vashawn and Chris for joining from the Unfiltered Longhorn Talk group on Facebook. They're coming up on 10,000 members in that group on that platform. They've been doing it for years. Daily conversations, daily content being shared on there. So really appreciate them jumping on and sharing. And part of the Texas community, shout out to Last Stand Hats, laststandhats.com/fanatic. Use Fanatic10 as the promo code. Get 10% off at checkout. Any merchandise you want on the website. Shout out to those of you who are participating right now in our bracket contest. I'll post where we stand right now on all socials, just so you guys can see who had a good first weekend. I know I did not. So, and also thank you to Aura, our brand new sponsor. Amazing, amazing. One of the best digital security platforms for threat protection, VPN services, antivirus, the entire bit, the entire suite. Aura is an amazing company full of amazing services, offering a 14-day free trial. It's only monthly, $10 a month for an individual, $13 a month if you do, if you want to go bi-monthly with your billing. Incredible company. Check out Aura today. Aura.com/fanatic is the site for us there that yours truly is sharing out. Bashan, Chris, thank you, brothers. Horns always up.